What's up YouTube, it's Tuck coming at you with another video, and in today's video, as you can see, we're doing something a little bit different. We're not going to be playing any Call of Duty, but we are going to be talking about Call of Duty. I figured it would be cool to do a CDL team tier list just to give y'all my opinion on where the teams stand right now and how everything is looking based on how everyone's played. This isn't going to be a who I think is going to win champs tier list. This is just a based on everything we've seen so far. I'm recording this after the first day of week 2 of league matches, so day 2 and day 3 hasn't happened. There's a lot of big matches in day 2 and day 3 that might mix up this tier list a lot, but with that being said, we're doing this based off of everything we've seen so far. I know there's only been a little bit of LAN. I know most of the competing has been online, but just from what I've seen and how I've seen teams play, this is how we're going to roll with this. So I think we're going to start from the bottom and work our way to the top, from D to S, just so that we're not going in order and we can just work our way up the list. So starting at D tier, the only D tier team that I have is going to be Paris Legion. They have potential, I think, but they took Atlanta to a map 5, which was really impressive, but then today they got 3-0'd by Boston. And I think Atlanta is a better team than Boston, but we'll talk about that in a minute. So I don't know what happened to Atlanta. Atlanta might have just been playing off, but I haven't seen a ton out of Paris. They've been really, really inconsistent. So they're going to be actually our only team in the D tier. Florida Mutineers are going to be in the C tier. I think you could make an argument that they could go in D tier, but for now, they're going to be in C just because I believe they haven't shown a ton. They have not a lot of crazy talent, but if they can work on their teamwork, they might be able to hop up into B tier. I don't think there's a chance that this team is going to be like a S or A tier this year, but I have them at C tier because I think they are a little bit better than Paris. They've shown a little bit of promise and they've had a few high moments, but overall haven't seen a ton out of them. So that's who's going there. And then right above them is actually going to be New York. New York is a team who already dropped Neptune. They picked up Royalty and they played today, and Royalty had a good S&D but played terrible in respawn game modes. He played absolutely terrible in all 3 of the respawns, and the only reason I'm putting them here rather than behind Florida is because they were playing with a brand new player who hadn't had a lot of practice time. So I think there is potential they could slide up to B or A once Royalty meshes and kind of learns the pacing of pro hardpoint and pro respawn and things like that. But as of right now, I think they're just above Florida in the C tier, and they have really underperformed. They played decent on LAN. I'm pretty sure they got 3-0'd by Seattle on LAN, but online they've been playing terribly. And I know 1 or 2 games online can be accused of happening because of online play, but when you're getting smoked by everybody that you play against, at that point it's not all because it's online, it's just because y'all need to work on some stuff. But so they're my team in C tier. Then the last team in C tier that I have is the LA Gorillas. This team, I think, is going to be a lot better this year than they have been in the past. In the past several years, they had a ton of talent, but gunless and just can't really mesh with anybody. Gunless's teams have looked insane over the past several years, but they haven't been able to mesh. This team looks like it has some promise as long as they can keep their heads on straight, and when they start losing or facing adversity, I think they do have a lot of promise, and they can end up being an S or A tier team if they can just get their teamwork right. So that's my logic behind the Gorillas. I think they are better than every team below them, and I think they could potentially be better than a lot of the teams above them if their chemistry gets right. I know they got 3-0'd, I think, today by who did they play? Ultra. They got 3-0'd by Ultra today, but it was a very close 3-0. They lost the control 3-2. They lost the hard point by less than 50 points, and I think they lost S&D like 6-4. And like 1 or 2 gunfights go differently, and they're able to win really all 3 of those games. So they got 3-0'd, but it was a lot closer than the 3-0 actually said. So they're going to be the last team in C tier. So hopping into B tier, the lowest team in B tier, and this may be a hot take for some people, is going to be London. A lot of people might rank London lower, but they're 2-0 this season. They beat Optic, and they beat New York. I think they 3-0'd New York. I know they beat New York, and I think they might have 3-0'd them. I'm not 3-1 maybe. I'm not sure, but they've been pretty solid. And again, we've only seen 2 league matches, so we're going to see more of them throughout the rest of this weekend and really get to gauge how good they are against some of the better teams in the league. But they are playing very, very well, and I think they have earned a spot in B tier for now. If they start sucking, I'm not saying they won't drop lower. I'm not saying they won't go higher, but B tier I think is a pretty safe spot for them. And if I had to predict where they're going to go in the future, I would predict they might drop a little bit as these other teams start to figure stuff out. But right now they're outperforming everybody else below them by far, and it's not even close. So that's who I have at the bottom of the B tier. And then right above them in the B tier, we're actually going to put Optic. I know they beat Optic 3-2, but I think that was a little bit fluky. Optic got reverse swept, if I'm not mistaken, against this team. But the reality of it is, I think if Optic and London play, 9 times out of 10, Optic is going to win. Optic has been underperforming drastically. They have Paris tomorrow, which should be a pretty easy match. If they lose that match, then they might drop into C tier, but they have a ton of talent. They've been getting really unfortunate. Like both of their league matches, they got really, really unfortunate. Granted, they did sell a little bit to let them get to game 5s for sure, but in the game 5s, they could have won if 1 or 2 things go differently, but that's neither here nor there. Optic is the second team in B tier, and I am placing them above London, even though they beat them, because I do think that right now, from what we've seen, I think Optic is the better team based on just the small sample size that we have. The last team in B tier that's going above Optic is the Boston Breach. We haven't seen a ton from this team. I didn't watch any of their scrims. I've just watched them at LAN at the kickoff weekend and their online matches. But in their online matches, they've looked really, really solid. You know, they 3-0'd Paris. Did they 3-0 Paris today? I think. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they 3-0'd Paris today. But they've been playing really solid. They're playing really, really well. Their next 3 games, they play FaZe tomorrow, and then next week they play Optic and then Ultra, I think, or Optic and then Seattle. So they're playing some of the top teams over the next few weeks. So we're going to really get to see how good they actually are. But right now, based off how they're performing, I think they're performing better than Optic. And unless Optic, if we see Boston versus the Optic that played in the last 2 matches, I think Boston wins that. So if Optic does get their stuff together, I admit, you know, they will be better than Boston. Optic should be an S or A tier team on paper, but right now Boston is playing better, so they're my last team in the B tier. So my bottom team in A tier is going to be the LA Thieves. This one is a little close with the team that's going to be right above them. It could really go either way, but right now I think so far Los Angeles has been a little worse than the other team. They're playing really, really well. Draza is insane. He's playing out of his mind. Octane's playing well. Kenny had an insane series today when they played, and they're just playing like a really well-rounded, good team together. So it's there's not much more to it than that. You know, they're playing really well together. They're finally seeing some success. Envoy's seeing some success. He hasn't been playing the best, but he's been playing consistent, and I think they have a chance to do something this year, as long as they can continue to fry. I know Kenny has had the reputation over the past several years of being pretty inconsistent, so as long as he's able to stay consistent, Draza has been frying. If he continues to fry, they have a lot of potential through this year, so they're my lowest team in the A bracket. And then right above them is going to be Minnesota. So these I feel like could interchange. You could make an argument that LA is better, but LA did get 3-1'd by FaZe, and they didn't look terrible in that 3-1, but the last 2 respawns I think were pretty handily wins, if I'm not mistaken. So on the other hand, Minnesota beat Optic in a game 5, round 11, and they played pretty well that series. And then today they took Seattle to a game 5, and Seattle I think today didn't play as well as they have been playing, so it shouldn't have gotten to that point. I think Seattle misplayed a lot, but nevertheless they've been playing really well. Standy's going crazy. Attach has been going crazy. and it's a really cool to see these guys go off. But the thing is, like, so far, all these teams I can see beating one another, to be honest with you. That's just how competitive it is this year, especially with a very fast time to kill. But that's my A tier so far. I have the Thieves and then the Rocker, and then the top team in the A tier is going to be FaZe. I'm not putting them S tier just because they will be S tier, I think, by 2 weeks from now. I think they'll definitely be S tier, but the first two games we've seen them play in, and then kickoff weekend, they just didn't perform well at all. They play Breach tomorrow, which is going to be a really good gauge of where they are, because we know Breach has been playing well. So if they dominate Breach, that's going to show how dominant FaZe is. But they haven't shown a ton. Simp hasn't been playing super well. Abeezy has been frying. Celium's been frying, but Simp has really been dragging a little bit, which is really uncharacteristic of him. So if he can pick it up, I think Atlanta will definitely be a top 2, top 3 team in the game. But right now they're going to be A tier, and they're definitely elite contenders, but they're not the top of the top right now. So the S tier is going to come down to Seattle and Ultra. Some people may think differently about these two teams, but in my opinion, Ultra is second, and then Seattle is ultimate S tier, if it'll let me put it there. Seattle is first, Ultra is second. I know Ultra beat Seattle 3-1 on LAN. It was Seattle's first LAN event with 2 rookies. There could have been a few nerves, and then Seattle beat Ultra 3-2 online and a Ninja Defuse in round 11. I think right now these two teams, when they play, it would be a coin flip. I genuinely think it's just a coin flip on who gets better timing, what player decides to go off that day. But to talk about Ultra for a second, you know, everybody knows Ultra. They've been together for a year and a half. They're an incredible team. Kleenex has been playing crazy. Bance has been playing out of his mind, and even when he's not playing out of his mind, he's a great in-game leader for the team. And Cammy and Inside have been doing their thing as well. Cammy went off today against the Gorillas. I'm pretty sure that's who they played. Actually, let me go check that. Yeah, so I'm not tripping. Ultra did play the Gorillas, and Cammy dominated in that game. They played really well. But you can't discount the fact that in the season, not in the kickoff, even though it was on LAN, Seattle did beat Ultra. And Seattle, to move to them, are insane. Pred and Sib are dominant. Sib is actually, they're my favorite duo in the league. I'm rooting for them to win it all this year. I love those guys. I think Sib is a beast. I love watching Sib play, and Pred is awesome. I love Pred's personality and the Aussie in him. I think he's a beast. He's a character that I love to watch. So I'm actually rooting for Seattle to win it all this year. I just love Sib and Pred. You know, from the first time I watched them play and watched Pred stream, I just love the way he plays. I'm not the type of guy who is a fan of a team because of a location, especially in the CDL. Like, I'm not going to be a fan of a team because of a location in the CDL. Even though it's franchise, I'm going to be a fan of the team with the players that I like. And right now, Sib and Pred, I love those players, and if they went to Paris, I would root for Paris because I just love Sib and Pred. I think they're awesome. But this isn't about who I like. This is about who I think is the best, and I think Seattle, like, Pred is playing out of his mind. Him and Sib both could have an argument for MVP so far this season. They're both definitely have to be in the conversation. I know it's only been 3 matches for them, but they've both played ridiculously crazy, ridiculously good. So that's the reason I have them above Ultra. That's the only reason I have them above Ultra, is because I think individual talent-wise, Seattle has a little more talent. You know, Sib and Pred are insane, but then obviously you have accuracy and Mac is slept on. Mac is insane. Pred's been going off, but Mac has been right there with him. They've been a great sub duo. And then the only, I'd say, X factor for Seattle is accuracy. I think accuracy can be a little inconsistent, especially in respawn. I know in the search against the first search against Minnesota today, he was like 1-6 or 1-7 or something like that. He had a terrible game. But if he can be consistent at the main AR, he's a great in-game leader regardless. But if he can consistently win gunfights and play well, I don't see them being beaten a lot this season, just because of how dominant those other 3 players are. Like Mac is a top tier player, is an A tier player, and then Sib and Pred are both S tier players 100%, and they're at the top of the list of S tier players. So Ultra, I think, has better teamwork right now. As time goes, as you know, Pred and Sib have been duo for a long time. As time goes and as they mesh well more and more and more and learn how to play search better more and more and more together and take advantage of when they get first blood, I think there's a definite like they'll be solidified as one of the best teams throughout this year, as long as they don't fall apart and as long as accuracy stays consistent through the year. But anyways, guys, that's my tier list. I know there might be a couple of things that people don't like. Some people might not like Optic being as low as they are, but the way I see it is I believe the S tier teams beat everyone below them. I believe the A tier teams beat everyone below them. B tier beats everyone below them, and the C tier beats Paris. And as far as in the tier, I have them ranked how I think they order and progress, but you know, that could change. These could be flip-flop. This is just where I think they are from 1 to 12. And yeah, so that's just my thoughts about it. That's who I think are the best teams. Let me know what y'all think in the comments below. If you agree with me, if you disagree with me, if you think I'm tripping, and I'll update this throughout the year as times go for sure. And if you want to see more rank lists, like ranking Call of Duty games or ranking all the CDL pros, I think there's 48 of them, ranking all 48 CDL pros from a S to F tier. I would love to do that as well. That'd be more of a longer video, but whatever y'all guys want to see, just let me know and I'll be happy to do it. And other than that, like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed it. It helps me out and it pushes me out to more people. And check out my channel if you haven't already to see some pretty good gameplay and some clips and stuff like that from some competitive Call of Duty. But other than that, guys, it's been Tuck, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.